before we launch in, just wanted to mention just a few more things, and that is that we have put together a number of resources to help with gardening. Please make sure to check them out. We have a website on kidsgardening.org that has resources. We also have all of our past webinars that we've done the last 3 years up for more information. And just want to mention our newest edition, and that is a professional development course that is being offered through the NHSA Academy. It's called Gardening with Kids Basic Course. And here's a link to it. It is 4 hours worth of digging in and helping you get started and to form your garden program. And today we have some wonderful speakers who are going to really help get us excited and inspired with what they're doing in their gardens. And we're going to just run through each of those. And I don't want to take away any time for them. So we're just going to launch in today. Oh, we do have a poll. We were going to kind of get a quick count to see who is on the webinar today. And so if you could just kind of weigh in to mention if you're a teacher, educator, if you're on administration, if you're curriculum, or if you are part of the family member or caregiver, or if you're another, if we didn't capture you. And we'll just give that another second. Looks like we've got a strong showing from program managers and administrators and from educators. I think I need to end the poll. Do I share results, Rachel, or can you do that? Okay. All right. So with no further ado, let me turn it over to Randy Seagraves, and he's going to share some information about the Junior Master Gardener program, and specifically the ECE Learn, Grow, and Eat program. So Randy, take it away.
I'm good. Thank you, Sarah. We appreciate being a part of this conversation and love the partnership. My name is Randy Seagraves. We're with the National Junior Master Gardener Program. We are stationed at Texas A&M University. We're one of the land grants that's a part of the cooperative extension system across the country. Every state has connections to supporting these types of programs from the state and the county level. What we want to introduce today is the Learn, Grow, Eat, and Go early childhood curriculum. It's really relatively new, just launched, but it came after an elementary version of this. It shows some great connections of not only changing behaviors and preferences of the kids, but also reaching into the family world as well. So Sarah, hit the next slide for us. Since we're part of the academic world, we partner with academic institutions too on development. Number one, I'll tell you this new curriculum, Early Childhood Learn, Grow, Eat, Go, was written for teachers by teachers. But we have lots of content experts that were part of that writing team as well, widely piloted across the country, 20 states. You see the states listed there, and lots of feedback from you guys, from the teachers, that really helped to shape what the build of the curriculum was all about. So this really is some areas of gardening and nutrition and physical activity that was a part of these efforts. And you see some great connections to our partnerships with the University of Nebraska that helped to write the curriculum, and also with the University of Nevada, that was their extension world that helped to be able to pilot and make this such a successful effort. So give me a quick nutshell of the curriculum before I hand it off to our teacher. Sarah, the next slide gives you a quick overview. It's a month-long gardening unit. You can kind of see the first week we cover the basics of plant needs and plant parts, and then each subsequent week has different plant parts that are featured. So on a weekly basis, your kids will get to have those cool garden connections. There's some food exposures that are part of that, some great resources that are center resources in the curriculum. And there are some great connections and new novel ways we're engaging our parents with this content. And then on a daily basis, teachers, you have a lesson, a small group activity, and a great lit connection, and a small group a writing journal prompt. But there's also a very cool song of the week that's featured too. So one more slide for me, Sarah. There we go. The Learn, Grow, Eat, Go section is kind of it's not just the title of the content, it's really how the content is organized. If you see this curriculum, it's an oversized publication. There's tabs on the side. The first section is the Learn section, incorporates all of those activities and lessons you'll use. There are some resources specifically to have a garden your kids will be able to have that will thrive. It's going to be a kid-centered garden, a kid-led garden, even from these pre-K age students we work with. The food exposures connect kids with food cooking skills and safety skills, and some great ways to test and evaluate fresh samples as well as prepared recipes. And there are some really fun, what we call brain and body boosting activities that make up the content as well for this month-long unit. And then one more for me, Sarah, is there's a lot of teacher resources that are online as well as in the back of the book. There are correlations that you'll see in the curriculum to the ELOFs, the Early Learning Outcome Framework resources on a weekly basis. But there's also some great content online to support teachers on a weekly basis. You see those little icons along the middle section there that you'll click on to jump in that world too. So having said that, I'm going to floor it over to Yvonne. That's going to share us with kind of her perspective of how they used it in the pilot effort last year.
Thank you, Randy. Hi, everybody. I'm Yvonne Jacob. I'm the Director of Education, Disabilities, and Mental Health at Osceola Learning, Clark County in Las Vegas. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you just kind of like our experience with partnering with the University of Nevada Extension Youth Horticulture Education Program to implement the Learn, Grow, Eat, and Go curriculum in our Head Start classrooms. Next slide. All right, so, obviously with implementing a pilot, there are many preparations and challenges that happen during that time. So some of the things that, I did once the University of Nevada Extension reached out to me, their youth horticulture education program, a lot of planning had to take place. And really thinking about how are we going to incorporate this curriculum into an existing curriculum that we currently have. And then we also have 13 centers across Las Vegas with 75 classrooms that we wanted to start this program with. We had to think about training for our teachers, teacher assistants, and floaters to ensure that there was fidelity in implementation of the curriculum. We also had to identify, garden leads so that they're able to provide that support and help and reach out to our community partners to see, what type of support we can receive with materials and just like gardening space. Also, just getting those materials, especially for our training, I'm going to go over on the next slide, just kind of how we did that here in Clark County. And then also I'm going to talk about activity alternatives that we implemented because we were very mindful of our children that had allergies and special diets, and we wanted to make sure that they were safe. So next slide. So in this next slide here, for our staff training, the Youth Horticulture Program really took the time, and they were able to package and deliver and disperse training materials. We implemented this during the pandemic, and there were a lot of pieces that we needed to work through to ensure that our staff were given the correct materials for the training so that they were able to experience the actual activities that they were going to teach within the classrooms. Next slide. All right, and this next slide here, it's a screenshot of our teachers in training. So here they're showing one of the activities that they engaged in. And so it was very engaging for them to have those actual materials during the training. So it was more meaningful for them, just like children and adults, hands-on learning is the best. And so they were able to do these activities, see how fun they were, and how they thinking about the children in their classroom and how they were going to incorporate that. So the next slide, please. All right, so in this slide here, we have activity alternatives. So these are pictures of some of our classrooms doing alternative, supplementing different things into the actual activity. So one of them is Healthy Henry to the left of you or to the right of you. Here, it calls for the children to actually use real fruits and vegetables to put on Henry's body to really get a sense of like fruits and vegetables and how good they are for you. However, with the special diets that we have in our classrooms with citrus and other foods, this teacher here, supplemented it for pictures of actual real food. And the children were able to, glue things onto Henry's body there. The next one is edible, non-edible. So this calls for charting activity for children. And in that activity, the children utilized, sorry. And in here, they each had their own paper, and again, utilizing pictures instead of real food, while being mindful of those special diets. Next slide. And in this next slide, I just wanted to highlight some of the pictures that the teachers took of the children, planting the garden, doing the activities. So as you can see, very engaging for the children, includes a lot of math as well, and science there. And next slide. And so our friends at Texas A&M for Junior Master Gardener wanted to share some free downloads with you all. So here's the link there. You could download and look at activities if you're interested in implementing the program, and then also the social media platforms to see those activities in action. And so now we'll turn it back over.
Thank you so much for that. And I'm sorry for going through the slides too quickly. And just love the emphasis you guys have placed on teacher training and really getting the teachers excited and ready to work in the garden. So next up, we have our program spotlight as a GroMoreGood Garden Grant winner, and that is by County Community Action Program. So we will turn it over to Nathan.
Hello, everybody. My name is Nathan Douglas, and I'm the nutrition coordinator here at BICAP Head Start in Bemidji, Minnesota. And we serve both Beltrami and Cass County here in northern Minnesota. And we were lucky enough to be one of the recipients of last year's Grow More Garden Grant in 2021. I had very little garden experience going into the project, but knew it was something that our centers really needed to use to build relationships with the outdoors and educating families about their own garden possibilities. Next slide, please. So who we are and where we started. So between all of our sites, when fully enrolled, we serve around 300 children. We have 3 center-based sites, as long as with others that are within local school districts. We have 2 of our centers here in Bemidji and in our Black Duck location, which have early Head Start classrooms that run year-round. So those were the main 2 sites of our outdoor gardens. Black Duck pictured above and Bemidji garden pictured below were both utilized in existing fence areas to help with animal control. We utilize raised beds to minimize weeding and the need for tilling. We use our garden grant gift card provided by the grantors to buy starter plants from our local Home Depot to start our gardens. Listed is just some of the many plants we grew in both of our gardens, such as a variety of different tomatoes, pumpkins, flowers, and lettuce. Next slide, please. Our outdoor gardening season was able to go from about May 20th to October 19th of 2021 before the annual Minnesota winter decided to roll in. Our summer was much like many of the other parts of the country last year, which was unseasonably dry and hot, with long stretches of no rain and hot temperatures, which made watering essential to keeping the plants healthy. As you can see in the top picture, anything that really wasn't watered was most likely dead throughout most of the summer. We had 4 early Head Start classrooms open in the summer to help with watering and watching it grow. Staff and children from both sites all played a big role in helping maintain these gardens. Members of the community also stepped up big to help me keep and get the project going. Our Beltrami County University of Minnesota Extension staff educator was very helpful for me in donating seeds and plants for our sites to grow, as well as our master gardeners from the county and providing advice and education to help get better yields and how to better maintain against pests. And one of our local grocery stores donated 10 3.5-gallon buckets for our Bemidji classrooms to create small indoor gardens that would be transferred outside once they were mature enough. And finally, one of our Pouncy Council members helped in a big way by providing peat moss for us in our gardens to help with moisture retention throughout the year. It was very nice to see all the different people and organizations who were really willing to help us out throughout the year. Next slide, please. So then the question came, what do we do with all the produce that we get from these gardens? I was very thankful for the past webinars that are on the NHSA website to help me spark ideas on how to reach as many families as possible. So the few of the different things we decided to do was, first, it was a great talking point at recruiting events. At our Head Start open house, we placed a few different produce items out on the table for potential new families to get some produce and to share how our program was utilizing gardens with our children and families. We also were able to use fresh produce in our on-site kitchen, such as drying fresh herbs to be used in our daily menus. Different classroom activities like playing with pumpkins was a big hit with our classroom kids and teachers. Inspired by a past grant recipient, we decided to send home with parents herb packets, and along with those herbs was a sheet of few recipes on how to best utilize that herb in various dishes. And finally, we hit a surplus of tomatoes in our Bemidji site during mid-August, and we decided that any that we couldn't use in our on-site kitchens would be set out during drop-off and pickup time for families to grab. And this was well received by families who may have just needed 1 or 2 tomatoes or a couple bell peppers or a little bit of herbs to create their dinner that night. And next slide, please. And finally, where do we go from here? Our next steps are after finishing our first year of this garden project in program is to first utilize our indoor garden setups in our 3 center-based sites. These are a great resource for keeping some of the herbs we had growing outside alive through the winter and to help with seed starting here in about a month for us in northern Minnesota. We have continued to use produce and herbs from our on-site kitchen in our daily meals and to do different classroom activities. We will continue to work with our county extension on helping with donations and gardening activities in the future. And finally, we hope to build our existing gardens even bigger and better for the year. And finally, just wanted to thank all of the grant sponsors and recipients to help make this wonderful grant possible for us and so many children and families across the United States.
Thank you so much for that summary of all of that you have done. You've got a lot done in one gardening season. Can't wait to see how you grow. And I definitely want a fresh tomato sandwich now. So, so next up, we have our program spotlight from Chicago Commons. And if Bob wants to join us to share about his program.
Thank you, Sarah. So I'm Bob Bryant. I'm the studio coordinator with Chicago Commons. We have 4 main sites and a lot of delegates who are now into gardening, thanks to our grant sponsors and NHSA. Children from Head Start, Early Head Start, and program staff participated. Teachers, food aides, administrators, and maintenance. Parents as much as possible in the pandemic, but we had lots of eager help. Next slide, please. So preschool classrooms planted and grew a new garden. This was our first attempt at gardening. And for this, we had 2 raised beds, a mini flower and herb forest is what the children called it. We designed and grew a garden with edible vegetables and produce and a sensory garden with herbs and flowers. Every part of that process, including eating the food we grew, was educational. And as a Reggio Emilia inspired program, we used Reggio processes to thread in objectives. And these were food experiences, nutrition, science, math, socio-emotional learning, and language development. All classrooms documented the experience with pictures, anecdotal notes, videos, and audio. Here we have, this is a child in room 21. We're just getting ready to plant seeds, and this was in the fall. In the spring, we see our little seedlings coming up, and we start to identify the different fruits and vegetables. We did tastings in the classroom. We incorporated landscape architecture into studio art to help and design our garden, which actually is up here for our 2021 harvest. Next slide, please. So, like I said, we had community support. This is, this lovely teacher came from DePaul University and is helping children with the seedlings that we grew, planting them, fertilizing, mulching the beds. And this is one of the children, this is a child from room 21 who's in one of the flower beds that we planted. We have a massive nature play space in the middle of Chicago. So it's an urban area, but we have lots of green thanks to this grant. And the next slide, please. So we had morning meetings where we discussed what the needs of the plants were going to be and future plans. You know, we used an emergent curriculum to help the children decide where they wanted to go with this and what the outcomes would be. Studying seeds and plants, roots, and all things that make plants grow were key, as well as providing produce for fruits and vegetables to eat and cook with. Next slide, please. So our outcomes, we actually had, this is the Tribune. So we had the local media to take pictures. Some of our children ended up in the newspaper, which was very exciting. We had pictures sent home of the children so that if parents couldn't be included, at least they could see their children interacting with the nature play space. And finally, I think the greatest outcome of all was that we have some experience and knowledge to rely on. So while last year was our first year gardening, now we have a gardening center in the school that's permanent. So we're excited to gear up to mulch and get our hands in the dirt with our tools again this spring. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So great to be laying such a sustainable and community supported garden in your school. And these are your slides too, right? That are coming.
Yeah,
just a few more.
yeah, these continue. This is one of the photographs that was in the paper.
This one right here.
Yeah, it's a beautiful photo.
Yes, great green in the middle of an urban area. Great to show you can grow anywhere.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now we'll move on to our next program spotlight. That's Murray Independent School District. And I believe, Whitney, you were the one that was going to join in here.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you so much, Sarah. Good to see everybody. Yes, my name is Whitney Pyle, and I'm the Health Services Coordinator for Murray Head Start. And joining me today as part of our team for our STEAM project is Tiffany Pittman, and she's the Family Services Specialist / Mentor Coach for our program. And then Miss Linda Thompson, who is the Family Engagement Services Coordinator. The three of us are going to talk to you about our STEAM project and how we utilize the Garden Grant funds to enhance the services that we're providing the children and our families in our program. So Sarah, if you don't mind to advance to the next slide, please. So this next slide talks about just an overview of the project to kind of give you a background of our program. We are a blended program with 10 school districts as well as a housing authority here in Western Kentucky. We also, as part of our program, try to do 2 STEAM projects or 2 STEAM kits a year for our children and our families. So we thought the Garden Grant funds and using gardening as a STEAM project for our families would be a really cool way for them to get gardening skills at home. So we were able, through the help of the Scott's Miracle Grow Foundation, as well as Kids Gardening, and then also NHSA, to distribute almost 1,200 STEAM kits across Western Kentucky to children and families. Each of the kits contained the little herb container garden, look like this. It also had some additional seeds that, thanks to UK Healthcare, we got about 1,200 packages of these. Then we also put in the STEAM kits. Gus grows a plant, and they were available in both English and Spanish. We had some parent-child activities, and you'll be able to see some of those on our website here shortly. And then we had several handouts as well, an intro sheet that has the QR code on it as well for our website, which you'll be seeing here in a minute. Also an overview sheet that talks about kind of the lesson plan of how the website can enhance the kit at home and teaching that can happen at home as well, thanks to some of our community partners and coordinators here at the office. Then also here is another sheet that talks about the extension offices as well as local farmers markets that are in Western Kentucky, and just some good resources for families. And then it also talks about parent curriculum and how we can weave the parent curriculum with gardening skills at home. There's a chef's hat activity, and there's also a video on our website where you'll be able to see that. And then finally, a survey. We want to hear back from our families to see what they thought about the kit, how useful it was to them. We always like to gather feedback and use that data as we move forward with other STEAM projects. So as we do this, you can kind of see a list of our community partners that came alongside us and helped to make this project a success. The Callaway County Future Farmers of America, which you'll see on our website in a minute. They also donated some watering cans for our outdoor opportunity buckets, which you'll also see on the website in a minute. The Callaway County Public Library, Callaway County Cooperative Extension Office, the University of Kentucky Nutrition Education Program. And what they were able to do is provide us lots of information that we put in these STEAM kits that talked about the local extension offices and farmers markets. And then finally, UK Healthcare, which they were the ones that also donated those cute little packets of seeds of sugar snap peas and carrots that we were also able to send home as well. And so, Sarah, this is where, if you don't mind, we're going to go ahead and look at the website. Okay. There's a QR code on the slide that I had just shown. If you want to hover over that, or I'm going to show you on this as well. Linda Thompson, our Family Engagement Services Coordinator, is going to talk with you now about the website. So Linda, I'm going to let you speak.
Hello, everybody. I'm Linda. So another way that we chose to provide more information and activities to our families, as well as to highlight our community partners, we decided to create a Google website that correlates with the kit that was sent home. So the first page that you see was just an introduction, just letting them know what to expect on the website and what different things were on there. And then you move over to the sections.
Whitney, we're not seeing your screen.
Okay.
Let me try again.
Let me see if I can get that. Let's see. All right, there we go. Can everybody see it now?
1 second. There we go.
Good deal. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Okay, good. So after the introduction page, then the next page had 5 sections to it. And this is where we tried to highlight our partners and just activities, songs, things that went along with gardening. So the first section was called the seed to table process. And with this one, we highlighted our community partner, which was the Callaway County FFA group and their leader. And so just some of the things we added were, gardening songs. We added the activity of creating the seed viewer, which that was some of the information and materials in our kit. And then we also had a video from the FFA group, just talking about starting plants from seed into seedlings and going through the process, and then also discussing some of the local resources in farmers markets. And then the second section was grow with books. And so with that section, we added some games, some gardening books, and then we also highlighted our local librarian, where she put on a video just talking about the library, introducing people to that, as well as the digital resources and books that you might find in addition to other things that we've already added on here. The third section was about just good nutrition and how it helps you grow. And so our nutrition coordinator added some different videos and songs on there just related to the importance of fruits and vegetables in our diet. The next section was called Your Grow Journey Together. And this is where we tried to incorporate our parent curriculum by adding, well, with this one, we wanted to highlight our parenting and protective factors and how they can relate to gardening by learning together and building positive relationships with one another. And so the chef hat activity was added on there, as well as just information about protective factors. And then the last section on this part of the website was the spaghetti celebration. And so with this one, we focused on the grown basil that they had grown in their pots. And then our extension office nutrition educator, Mira Vasquez, created 2 videos for us, one in English and one in Spanish, where she recreated a recipe of spaghetti and then using the fresh basil in the activity. So families could just, watch, recreate. The next page on there was the survey. So we did add our survey on here, as well as just pictures of what families could be in a drawing for if they would turn back in their survey to us. So we did create the outdoor opportunity baskets for each district. And then however many surveys came from their district, they went into a drawing to receive one of those. And then the last, project pictures. This is one where parents, families had the opportunity to send us some of the pictures of maybe things that they had done at home with the materials that were in their kit. So that's just a few of those. And then after the project was over, we went back in and added one more page that highlighted some of our winners in each district. And so that was it on the website.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and, okay. All right. So Sarah, I've turned it back over to you to advance the next slide, please, ma'am. Ms. Tiffany Pittman is going to talk to you now about some of the data that we were able to gather from this project. So Tiffany.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. So as you can see through our website, we were able to do a comprehensive approach throughout our program and able to impact not only our child outcomes, but our family outcomes as well. Through those STEAM concepts of science, technology, engineering, art, and math, we were focusing on those positive parent-child activities. They were able to learn about seeds, germination process, language and literacy, as well as impacting those school readiness skills. As you're seeing on the slide there, parents were able to see how these activities directly correlated to their kids being able to use those skills and grow their own skills. Next slide, please. Our project allowed us to increase families' outcomes and be able to provide parents opportunities to grow their own parenting skills. We incorporated our research-based parenting curriculum, Your Journey Together, and we really focused on the commonalities of growing your family's protective factors while growing your seedlings and your herbs. And families were able to see with those positive child activities, we were growing them in their family's well-being. We were promoting positive parent-child relationships. We were growing the family as lifelong educators as they were learning more about their child's development. And we were also encouraging the continuous learning with their new book and all the interactive activities on the website. And we really wanted to reconnect them or newly connect them to some resources within their community with those community resource guides, a farmer's market, and food resources. So parents were able to spend that quality time together with their children, and children were able to grow their own protective factors. They used that initiative as they tackled new projects, and they had to practice some self-regulation as they navigated trying to be patient with seedlings and watching them grow, maybe handling any disappointments if they weren't the expert gardener that they hoped to be. And they also had to learn to work cooperatively with others. Families were connected with their children in a new way, and children grew alongside them as they both enhanced their own protective factors. Thank you.
So Sarah, would be the next slide, please. So these are just some of the comments and feedback that we were able to gather from families through this STEAM project. Some others that the families said to us was it was great fun for the entire family. This project was engaging for my kids. Both of them loved to help me plant flowers. And then another one was we had a lot of fun with this. Gardening is a good thing. Something else to note is that these kits not only went home with families, we were also able to distribute some of these also to our classrooms. So some of this took place as well in our classrooms. So you can see here in this picture, a teacher and two of our kids in our early Head Start, one of our early Head Start centers. Those were some of those that went to our early Head Start center there. So it was great fun. We got lots of very positive feedback. Families were very appreciative, and we're very appreciative for the opportunity that you all were able to give us through this funding. So thank you all so much.
Well, I want to thank all of our speakers for coming on today and sharing a little bit about your programs. I hope everyone's as inspired as I am, and I hope that the message came across very clearly that there are tons of different ways to incorporate gardening into your center. You do not, you can develop it to fit the needs, to fit the resources you have, to reach out to different areas in your community and get support in different ways. So I hope that, I think this was a great picture of the diversity of things that are available when it comes to gardening and fitting it with your centers. And so we just had a final poll question because we wanted to see how likely you were to have a garden program. Or maybe you already have a garden space. So just to try and get a feel for whether we inspired you, I think today. We'll give everyone just a minute to answer in. So good to know that I don't see any unlikelies there. So that's excellent. So let's see what we have next. I think we had time for questions. Rachel, do you have anything else you want to add, or do we have time for a few questions, or are we running close on time?
No, we've actually done really well. We can do 5-10 minutes on questions if anybody has anything that is we haven't quite covered for you. I see a question in the chat, Sarah. The examples have been wonderful. Does anyone have suggestions for home-based options? Do you want to address that?
Sure. I mean, I don't know if any one of our speakers, I think that, you know, the idea of giving kits is a great idea, as we had, Whitney, I don't know if you want to add on anything about making that available. So really getting engaged. Love the idea of having, you know, things for them to pick up on their way home, or a pickup time's another great time to engage folks. So Whitney, I don't know if you want to say anything else about the possibility of doing kits and how hard that was to put together.
Absolutely. And that is something else, Sarah, is we do have a home-based program. And so these kits actually went home to our early Head Start home-based program as well. So that is something I failed to mention. I'm glad the person asked the question. So absolutely. So we do have both home-based and center-based early Head Start, as well as preschool Head Start children within 10 school districts and a housing authority as well. So so yes, we did. Home-based was definitely addressed with this, and they benefited as well.
Anyone else want to add on to that? Did we have any other questions that came up?
There is one in the chat that asks if this can be turned into a family engagement project.
So I would definitely think so because it's definitely gardening is something that appeals to all ages, just naturally and through all the generations. So definitely have seen that occur throughout. Does anyone from the
Sarah,
program-
I'll chime into that as well, because
Okay,
one really
great.
exciting thing about this, and the data shows, if you can reach these kids at this early age, as we talk about impacting their health and their vegetable fruit preferences, it makes a difference. But it also reaches down into the family in a way that some other programs really don't have that same kind of reach. Or something really endearing about having kids want to be a part of these gardening projects and making their own food and eating those kinds of things. And so there's a great deal of data that shows you can reach these homes, even in homes that are sometimes not as engaged. In some of our centers, some of the research we had early on with our programming, it was all in these Title I counties and districts. And there was some substantial reach into the home with engagement. So as we worked to prepare this early childhood curriculum, that was a primary effort to really make some of these parent engagement tools novel ways and easy ways for teachers to be able to make these connections to from the classroom to home. And one other thing was being able to reiterate some of the things that are happening with the learning in the classroom and helping to guide parents too, even on the food exposure, simple things like prompting parents to have their kids see them enjoying the foods and describing those senses, those types of things, just simple prompts that we can do from your classroom so the home can make a big difference in the home settings.
Sarah, we also had a question in the chat about junior gardening programs and whether those exist in every state.
I can follow up on that too. The Junior Master Gardener does have programs in every state, and 38 universities in those different states have coordinators for JMG programming. So what's great about the Extension Network, several you mentioned Master Gardeners, and that's part of the Extension system. It's a great source of support. If you've never tapped those, a lot of these are retiree grandma, grandpa ages. And if you can plug in that local source of expertise, that's a great resource. But yes, Junior Master Gardener programs happen in all 50 states.
Yes, and if anyone, just to add on, I know we have different people that have worked with Extension before. Extension is part of the land grant university system. And so there are Extension offices in almost every county of the country. And I know that different ones have different resources available to them, and whether they have master gardeners or not can vary. But
there are some people, Sarah knows this too, there are people who are horticulture agents. Part of their job is to have successful programming happening in home settings, but also school settings like this. So you do have sources of expertise, especially in those larger counties. But if not those, there are individuals that are part of agriculture and home health and even 4-H programming that can support these kinds of efforts too.
Yeah, always a good resource to look for.
We have one more question, and then I believe Anne is on, so we can give her the final word. So last question, Sarah, is our health, safety, nutrition manager has concerns about types of soil being used. What are the presenting programs utilizing? So if each of you wants to say a quick word on that, what you're using for soils.
I'll start as Sarah.
Go ahead.
We really
Go ahead, Randy.
Some of our for our early childhood programs, especially some of those are a little less not as well resourced in container gardens. And so for those efforts, having some really nice quality potting soil is easy. It's not always the cheapest way to make those connections happen, but for containerized gardening, that really is something that you want to bring in and access.
Yeah, for our program of Midget, we used Scott's Miracle-Gro raised bed soil with probably a 75% mix of local peat moss, which helped with the water maintain on that.
Our little herb kits actually came with a soil. So it had the seeds in here, and then it also had the little, it's actually like a little soil pod, and you add 2 ounces of water and watch the soil expand in the little pod itself.
We use Scott's as well.
Scott's is awesome. Am I allowed to say that?
Speaking of Scots.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna Quillo. I'm the pokey one who had to come late to this meeting. I'm Vice President of Policy and Partnerships, and I get to work with the wonderful organizations that you've heard from today. But I just want to thank everyone for participating and for taking such a great interest in gardening and kids and bringing healthy eating and getting outside and enjoying nature to your communities. We are so happy to partner with you, to partner with NHSA, with Kids Gardening, just to be with this group and to really foster these great connections. So I got to see the slideshow, I got to see a little bit of the conversation, but I think I'm a little bit of the closer here. I know Sarah's really in charge, but I'm always going to give a shout out to Scott's Products because they're the best. And no, they don't pay me to say that. I just love this organization and love this company and love the great things we put out there. So thank you. And thanks for letting me poke my head in for just a minute.
Well, I would add on thank you to Scott's Miracle Grow Foundation for all that you do to support youth garden efforts. It makes such an impact and makes such a difference. So, and for having a high quality product that we can refer people to. So Rachel, I'll let you close it down.
Okay, thanks so much everybody for joining us today. The recording of this session will be made available on our website and the slides as well. If you have any additional questions, do feel free to reach out to us. You can visit the website to find additional resources that can help really get your garden started. I strongly recommend that you check out the Academy and our new Gardening with Kids Basics course. That is a great complete package on that'll really empower you to start a garden or grow what you already have. So again, thanks so much and have a great day, everybody. Bye.